What's up, guys? Justin here with TheSketchUpEssentials.com, back with another SketchUp and Profile Builder tutorial for you. So in today's video, I want to talk about some of the features that I really like inside of Profile Builder, having to do with being able to extrude objects along paths. So I figured I'd talk about my top 8 features that I really like about what you can do with this extension. So let's go ahead and just jump into it. So Profile Builder, as most of you know, is the extension where you can create different profiles that you can extrude along paths. In addition to being able to extrude profiles along paths and really work with those profiles, you can also use it to generate smart assemblies. So things like fences and other things like that. So we're not going to talk about those features too much, other than just know that it's in there. You can set it up to generate like the vertical pickets on this fence or things like that. But in this case, I want to talk specifically about different things that you can do just extruding profiles along different paths. If you're looking for more information about Profile Builder, you can check it out at TheSketchUpEssentials.com/Profile Builder. I will note that is an affiliate link. So the first thing that I really like about this extension is that you can generate your profiles along non-linear paths. And what that means is when you're inside of SketchUp and you use the Follow Me tool to extrude something, it only really works if you extrude it along a singular path. But if you have something like this, for example, and you try to extrude something like a circle, you can't extrude it along the whole path because the path is non-linear, meaning it isn't like just in a line. You can see how this gets problematic right here. However, with Profile Builder, you can do that. So I could just select all of these edges, and then what I would have to do is I would have to create this circle as a profile. So I would just take it, rotate it 90 degrees here, and I would just make it a profile. And then I could select this and I could extrude it along this whole path. So you can see how this doesn't have a problem taking that and extruding it along this path. And so that works for things like this situation too, where let's say that you wanted to use like a steel W shape or something like that. So like let's say we just use this I-beam right here and then use the build along path function. You can see how you can do this to extrude this along all of these different edges, even though this isn't really a continuous path. So that can be a huge time saver. So that's number one. Number two is the ability to then take this and do things like generating framing. So let's say, for example, that I wanted to take this whole thing, and again, it's non-linear, but if I was to go in and select a profile like a 2x8, for example, and then use build along path, you can see how I could come in here and I could generate this framing really quickly. And so because of this, you can use this to create repetitive shapes using profiles. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in the future, but if you ever wanted to swap these out, that would be really easy to do as well. So another thing that I really like, this is item number 3, is that you can adjust the paths of objects after the profiles have already been created. So let's say, for example, I had this steel piece over here, and you can see how this path is just like a singular path. But if you go in and you go to edit the path of an active profile member, so if I double click in here and then I click on edit the path, this is going to hide my object and it's going to allow me to come in here and make changes to that path. So you can see how I could come in here and erase this out and draw a little piece right here and then click outside of this, and you can see how Profile Builder will actually come in here and it'll adjust the path of this member. So unlike a lot of other things inside of SketchUp, where if you create something and then you have to come back in later and redo it, this allows you to edit your different objects after they've been created. So if you make a mistake or need to make a change, this can make things a lot easier on you. So you can see how I can edit something to come in here and adjust this path right here. So another thing that I really like about this extension is the ability to swap out profiles quickly. So like for example, let's say we had an object like this one, and let's say I wanted to come in here and just use like a steel tube, something like that, and extrude that along all of these different objects. So you can see how this comes in here and it takes this HSS shape and it extrudes it along all the paths in here. Well, let's say that, for example, I decided I didn't want these to be tubes. Let's say I wanted these to be steel L. Well, I could come in here and I could click on this. I could pick a new profile, and then I could just come in here and I could click the Edit Member Properties button, check the box for Adjust Profile, and then click Apply. and that'll automatically come in here and swap these objects out. So you can see how these are now replaced, instead of the steel tubes, these are now in here as steel angles. So making these adjustments can be really easy. And so another thing I really like about this is, let's say that we have a pair of paths like these on this spiral staircase. And let's say that we had, we'll say we had a handrail along here. And I'm going to adjust the insertion point. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But for right now, I'm just going to build this along this path. So you can see how this came in here and this extruded that handrail along the path that was on top of this glass. Well, one thing I really like about what you can do here is you can actually select these and then click on the button to edit the profile of the active profile member. So in this case, I would probably just take this one, double click on it, and I would click on this button for edit the profile of the active assembly, and you can see how this actually pulls this up. So let's just say, for example, that I wanted to come in here and I just wanted to straighten this edge off. You wouldn't really do that because this would look a little bit different, but let's say that we did. All you would have to do is just come in here and just make your edit like this, and then click outside of your profile. Then once you click outside of your profile, what Profile Builder is going to do is it's going to update that profile shape. It's going to ask if I want to do that for all members in the model with the same name. In this case, I'm going to say yes to update all of them. And then that's going to go back in and it's going to re-extrude this along your path. And so now if you were to rotate down and look at this, you can see how you have your newly adjusted profile in here. So instead of having to redraw a profile, refollow me, this whole thing, you can just edit that profile in place. So it's really easy to make changes. So item number 6 that I really like about this is that you can actually use it to create profiles without thickness. So like, let's say for example, I wanted a profile like this one. I'm not sure why exactly you'd want this one, but we're going to go ahead and use that as our example. So let's say that we wanted a profile like this one. You could just click the plus button inside the profile dialog and add it. And you can see how this will bring this in even though it's just an edge that doesn't have any thickness. Meaning now I can take this edge and I can extrude that along this path. So you can see how this allows me to do that really easily. And I'm able to do it without having to give this any thickness. So if you don't want to extrude a profile with thickness, you don't have to. So number 7 is the ability to download profiles. So if you go to Profile Builder's website, again, you can just, if you just go to TheSketchUpEssentials.com/profilebuilder, and then you click on the profiles section, there's different profiles that you can download in here. So things like different concrete curbs. If you go back a page, you can also get like different circles and squares, different moldings, steel shapes, things like that. Well, you can download those and then you can bring them in. So like for example, if I was to select the folder for the W shapes, you can download those and you can bring in this entire library of steel W shapes without you having to go find out what the actual dimensions of these are and model them yourself. So like for example, I could bring in this W12 by 53 and then I could take that and I could build that really easily. So being able to download a lot of those instead of having to create them yourself is really helpful. And then the last feature that I really like about this is the ability to adjust the insertion point. So you can see how if I turn on X-ray mode right now, you can see how all of these objects are centered on these lines. So you can see how that's because that's where the insertion point is set on the profile. Well, if I was to come in here and adjust this and click this little drop down, I could actually set this so the insertion point is for the top middle of the object. And then all I would have to do is just go in and update the member properties, and you'd make sure that the placement point is checked, but you could just click apply. You can see how what that does is that moves this down so that all of these objects are generated based on an insertion point of the top of these. You can see how it brings this in on or right below this line instead of centered on it. I could also come in here and do the same thing with like bottom middle or something like that as well. And you can see how that would set this so this would get brought in on the top of the line, so you can be a lot more precise. So that's where I'm going to end this video. I guess the common theme here is just the ability to go back and make changes. So this extension really allows you to make changes without you having to blow a whole bunch of things up and start over again, which I really like. So leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Are you using Profile Builder? Have you tried it out? I just love having that SketchUp conversation with you guys. If you like this video, please remember to click that like button down below. If you're new around here, remember to click that subscribe button for new SketchUp content every week. If you like what I'm doing on this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Every little bit helps, even if it's only $1 a month. So make sure you check out that link in the notes down below. But in any case, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.